Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you wherever and whenever you are tuning in to our show. Welcome to our newest edition of What Caught My Eye, or WCME. I am your host, the coach Nick Vesci, and I'm joined as always by the man Stephen Comlow.
Yo.
And the boy Stephen Vesci.
Hi.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Always excited to be here with you guys. If you're new to our show, our whole idea is we're trying to bring you and kind of educate you on what happened around the world in sports this last week. So if you learn something new, that checks out. That's like our main goal, is that you learn something new and you had a good time with us along the way. So we always start off our first part of our show is our top catch. And this week, our top catch is the Euros, or the European Championships in football, or soccer, or calcio, if you're speaking the old language. So
Soccer's fine.
we have reached. Soccer's fine. Yeah. So we have reached the knockout stages of the tournament. We just had the Sweet 16, if you're in America, what they would call it. That's when the knockouts start in the Euros, and that just wrapped up today. And we've moved on to the quarterfinals, or the final 8. So just a quick recap. In that final 16 to start the knockout stage, you had Switzerland versus Italy. Switzerland prevailed with a 2-0 victory, dispatching the defending champion. So there will be a new European champion this go around.
The battle for the Alps.
Yes, it is. You know, the die is cast. Hannibal's coming over with his elephants.
He's there.
Doing all that good stuff. I was always there. So Switzerland, they will take on England. All right, England took out Slovakia. Probably the most compelling of the knockout stage matches so far, I would argue, just because of the pressure that England is always under, the scrutiny they're under all the time, and how that match unfolded, which is insane. So Slovakia were the better side for basically the entire match. Right? They deserved to go through. It felt like they were, on the ball more. They were creating more chances. They looked more fluid. They looked more cohesive. But England, and we've talked about this before, they were the betting favorites entering this tournament, and very similar to when you watch like a U.S. men's national basketball team. You got the best players out there, but there's so much disjointedness when they go to kind of link up play, and as they go along, that they may struggle sometimes against teams, but at the end of the day, the talent wins out. And that's what happened here with England and Slovakia. I don't know if you saw the goal, gentlemen, by Jude Bellingham, but it's epic. I mean, it's epic. Consider not just, the execution, but considering, the scope around it, like what it would have meant if he didn't connect on it, what it would have meant for the whole country. And at the time of the match, too, we're talking about the dying minutes of this game. You're in extra time, or stoppage time, and I believe 95th minute was when he scored this goal. It's an overhead bicycle kick off of like a deflection in the box. Perfectly executed. And I love when he stood up, he says, who else? Who else but him? Right? I mean, he's their best player. Sorry, Harry Kane, you're not the best player. Jude Bellingham is their best player. He's phenomenal. And it was nuts, right? And that goal tied the match, sent it into extra time. And immediately in extra time, the aforementioned Harry Kane headed home the eventual game winner in like the opening minute or so of extra time. So England advanced 2-1 over Slovakia. It was pretty nuts, especially again because of it's England, right? If this had been pretty much any other country, even if this was like Portugal doing this, it wouldn't carry the weight. But because it's England, and we talked about them before, like the weight of the expectation is so severe and mighty. They haven't won a major trophy since 1966. It meant more. So I wonder if this will be a springboard for them. They will take on Switzerland in the quarterfinals as a result of that. Thought that was nuts. Right? I thought that was a good way to lead off the show. Other knockout stage stuff, you had the host Germany. They took care of business against Denmark. Germany has looked very good. And as a reward for their success, they will take on Spain, who beat the Cinderella story Georgia, who we'll talk about here in a second. They beat them 4-1. Spain has looked the best side. I mean, they're not only are they unbeaten, They've won every match they've played so far at the Euros. They look so good. They look like the Spain of 10, 14, 15 years ago. They look fantastic. But that's a very compelling match, is Germany versus Spain. Because you could argue they've been the two best sides in this whole tournament, but they have to face each other now in the final 8 as opposed to a final. So that would be really the one to zero in and look at. The other quarters, you've got Portugal will face France. Portugal beat Slovenia in penalties. Portugal has really struggled to put the ball in the back of the net in this tournament. But the quality of their side took over in the penalties, and they were able to beat a lesser side in Slovenia. And France beat Belgium. Belgium, their time has probably passed. You know, they needed to do something 5, 6, 7 years ago when all of these guys were in their prime, like De Bruyne and Lukaku and Thibaut Courtois and Jan Vertonghen. Really, I mean, they're still great players, but
they're the number 2 team in the world.
I know they are. I
think that their coach kind of outcoached himself by playing De Bruyne out of his trademark position. He kept De Bruyne way too far back in the midfield and not in places where he can get quality scoring chances. I mean, you saw later in the game, I think it was around like the 70th minute, when Belgium started making their substitutions to try and switch the flow of the game because France kind of dominated. The second they made that switch, De Bruyne starts activating and is ripping shots, is playing great balls diagonally into the box. I thought that this was a coaching mismatch. If like at that end, the refs kind of got in the way in this game. The refereeing in that game was just piss poor. It was so bad. But I mean, not to take anything away from France. I mean, they have arguably probably the best player, if not the second best player in the world, in Mbappe, and that team's built to win right now.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point. Coaching Didier Deschamps over there for France is an excellent coach. You know, has had many successes for the national team there. You know, I like your point. You know, Belgium is ranked 3 in the world. Again, it's not like I'm saying, they went from being number 2 to like, they're ranked 25th now. No, what I'm just saying is I think of their best players, their best years are behind them. They still have some great players. They still should be able to beat anyone in the world at any given day. It's not an upset if they beat anyone. But you do wonder, I saw something, you wonder if this is the last time we see De Bruyne compete for Belgium on the national level, which would be really a shame because De Bruyne is a fantastic player because he creates so much offense. He's like Steve Nash out there. Because he's not only a threat to distribute, he's a threat to score every time the ball is on his foot. And it would be a shame if we don't get to see De Bruyne play again, especially with the World Cup coming to the United States in a couple years. But France took them out 1-0. France's only goal was an own goal by Vertonghen. So it's not like France was, ripping and destroying, tearing things up out there. But, you're right, Kamlo. It maybe some tactical mistakes or errors or decisions was the difference in this match. And France progressed the next round. They'll take on Portugal. And I believe Ronaldo for Portugal said this is his last international competition. So that, game could be the last time we see Ronaldo don a Portuguese uniform.
Did he say last international or last Euro?
You're right. Maybe he said last Euros, but that would lead you to believe it could be the last. Maybe he's targeting the next World Cup as his last.
Because I'd imagine he would want to make one more run at winning a World Cup.
For that.
Yeah.
Could see that. Yeah, maybe you're right, Kamala. But I did see something where this, I guess on this stage, this type of stage, this could be the last time we see it. The last quarterfinal, you had the Netherlands won comfortably over Romania. They looked fantastic.
Holland!
Holland is the Netherlands. Then who are the Dutch?
They returned to form. They looked so good today. I had that on at work. I was watching it in the break room on my lunch break because it was playing at noon Eastern on FS1. And they looked so good. We were finally seeing just the pass and move and rip. The fast fast-paced play that's threatening on the outside versus like leading into just dominant dudes in the box. I mean, it looked like every Netherlands team that I've ever seen play finally after looking so bad in the group stages.
Yeah. Daniel Malen scored the 2 late goals, but Cody Gakpo, he's been a name for a few years. He's excellent young player. He opened the scoring.
Why did Malen get a yellow for excessive celebration? What did he do?
I think he took his
shirt off.
Oh, it's like taking your helmet off.
Yes, it's automatic. It doesn't matter what you do or what you say. The second that shirt comes off, it's just all right. It's a yellow.
Because the 94th minute.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You take your
having a day.
Yeah.
Does that yellow translate? Does that carry over to anything?
Until you get to the.
If you amass 4 yellows in a particular stage, I believe, outside of the finals, if you amass 4 yellows, it's 1 game suspension.
Well, in the group stage, if you get 2 yellows, it's a 1 match suspension.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. So I actually think 4. Each tournament is different. So it depends on when it restarts, but I think it might restart at the knockouts. And I guess if you get 2 yellows, you're missing a match. So if it restarted the knockouts and you get a yellow in this match and yellow the next match in the quarters, you're missing the semifinal match. So that's
So it's 2 yellow cards in separate matches, and then so like if I get a yellow playing you, boy, and then if I get a yellow playing Nick, I'm suspended for the next game, and then after that it's 4 yellows.
Okay.
It resets and goes to 4.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's a yellow card accumulation is a real thing to manage. You see guys get subbed off all the time when they've this guy got a yellow card last match. We're in the 79th minute and we're kind of up comfortably. We're not going to take the risk. We're going to sub him off. You see that happen all the time. So the Netherlands, they're going to take on Turkey. Turkey beat Austria 2-1 today, and 2 goals by Demiral, I believe was the guy. A brace is what they call 2 goals, by the way, boy, if you didn't know that. But it's pretty stunning. Turkey's not. Why do they call it a brace? That's a Comlo question. Yeah. Wine.
You gotta get it. You gotta get it in to get 3 points.
Thank
Maybe
you.
How many? Don't they call suspenders braces? So maybe it has something to do with you got your 2 straps for your suspenders or braces.
Maybe. Or you're bracing yourself for the hat. You're bracing yourself for the hat trick.
Possibly. That'd be sweet.
That would be. But yeah, so Turkey, that's now the new Cinderella story of the Euros. They're going to move on to the quarters. They're going to take on the Netherlands. Pretty uncharted territory for Turkey. It's pretty cool to see. Any thoughts on the quarters before we get into Georgia?
Wait,
Georgia.
Why do you want to talk about Georgia? They're out.
But why not? Do you not follow this? Just them getting to the knockout stage is incredible. Or do you need me to go through it?
No, they're not the only ones, though. I mean, Austria getting to the knockouts was incredible. Romania getting to the knockout stage was incredible. Turkey getting to the knockout stage and now going to the round of 8 is pretty incredible.
That's why I said Turkey is the new Georgia for this tournament. But Georgia's never been to a Euros. Georgia, I believe, is the lowest ranked team in the whole
invaded country.
Yeah, Tbilisi is their capital, and a noted despot is from Tbilisi. But again, Georgia, I believe, they were the lowest ranked team in the Euros. They progressed out of the group stage. They finished 3rd in their group, and so they were one of the top 3rd place finishers. That's how they got to the knockouts. But they earned their first Euros point when they drew Czechia. It's not the Czech Republic anymore. Spoiler alert, it's Czechia. And then they won their first ever Euros game when they stunned Portugal 2-0 by Kvaratskhelia brilliance. I don't know if you know Kvaratskhelia. He plays for Napoli.
The guy that wasn't he the guy that was in Ronaldo's soccer camp?
Oh, really?
Yeah, one of the guys for Turkey, when he was a young
He's from
lad.
Georgia.
Yeah. Sorry, one of the guys in Georgia, and he was a young lad, was in Ronaldo's like youth soccer camp, and like got to meet Ronaldo. That's why after they dusted Portugal, he ran over and like hugged him, and he got the jersey swap, I believe, with
Oh, really?
Ronaldo.
No, I mean
Yeah.
it's really cool story. I think because
Mm-hmm.
Kvaratskhelia or Kvaradona is his nickname because he plays for Napoli, and Diego Maradona used to play for Napoli, and that's kind of where the nickname comes from. But if you don't know who he is, you're probably gonna need to know the name because he is a freaking stud. He was the
Mm-hmm.
fastest person on that pitch, and I didn't even think it was close. It was not. I thought it was crazy. It's amazing, like when you watch certain guys, regardless of sport, and they do certain things, and it just stands out to you. You don't even know who they are. You don't even have to look, and you're like, that guy is a man amongst boys. That's what Kvaratskhelia looked like to me when he was out there, and he is the real deal. But he got the scoring started in that match in the second minute with a brilliant finish to put them up, and they added another goal on a penalty later on. But they pulled off the biggest upset in Euros history. Again, Georgia's ranked 74th in the world. Portugal's ranked 6th. They broke a record that had just been broken earlier in this tournament when Slovakia beat
Mm-hmm.
Belgium. But this spread is so much larger than the Slovakia-Belgium spread. So that win
Yeah.
to me is incredible. And I also saw that a Georgian billionaire donated $10 million to the club. And I
Oh,
think
that's
just
pretty cool.
straight cash homie. I think it's straight cash homie like bonuses to the players, like 10 million bucks divvied up amongst the players
Yeah.
for the victory.
That's nice. Would have been
So I
nice
don't
if the team had that support prior to Euros, but
right,
bandwagon
but I don't know. I
donations,
thought
man.
to me, I thought that was so cool. I thought that was
No, it is. You're right.
definitely worth talking about.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Right,
That's
and
a good it's a good storyline, and there's a lot to unpack there. And but much like with any major tournament, as we progress, we're starting to see the cream rise to the top, right? I mean, you
yep,
start out in the group
yep.
stages, and it's all these teams and countries that you would have never thought had a national team, and then you see a couple squeak through
Everyone
your
has a
Turkeys.
national team.
But you know what I mean, like one that's able to like compete. You know what I mean? Like not every nation
Yeah,
qualifies for Euros. But
yeah.
and now like a couple
Vatican
squeak
City's
throughs to
certainly
the
not
knockout
qualifying.
rounds, and then now that we're in the quarterfinals, you see your Spain's, Germany's, Portugal, like your big names that you
Mm-hmm.
see in the World Cup every year, right? Like if I was a betting man, I would bet that Spain, France, England, and Netherlands move on to the semis. Would be my prediction.
You think Spain's gonna be able to take care of business against the hosts? Because Germany's looked the best they've looked in several years, and so has Spain.
Mm-hmm.
Even
Yeah, I
though
mean
you're in enemy territory.
it's a match that I love seeing because this is one that happens, I think, a lot on the international stage, whether it's Euros, whether it's UEFA, whether it's World Cup. I feel like these two always find a way to just like suss each other out in the brackets and somehow butt heads. It's going to be an awesome matchup, but like I wouldn't. I mean, obviously, have you seen like the support for all the different nations there? Like Spain's going to show up to this game. Like their fans are going to be
Oh,
activated. It's going to be awesome.
absolutely.
It's gonna be must
It's
watch TV. Friday, July 5th at noon.
uh, oh, it absolutely will be. Like I said, I think that's the most compelling of the quarterfinal matches. That and maybe Portugal France because of the
I
star
think
power in Portugal France,
Portugal
but
France. I
Spain
think is gonna be
Germany
more of like
they've been
a
the two best teams.
Portugal France. I think is gonna be like a passing of the torch moment between Ronaldo to Mbappe. Uh, but like, and I don't know if you guys have seen anything about this, but like, have you seen any interviews or any news articles talking about the ball they're playing with? Like, and the
No.
reason I'm asking is just because you're not seeing really any like golden boot performances in terms of goal scoring. Like they keep at round after round after round, I keep seeing a graphic where the leading scorer in the tournament is own goals. It's just own goal after
Hmm.
own goal after own goal from game to game to game. And I have to think that it has something to do with the ball. because every couple years the ball that they play with on like the high like competitive international level gets switched because players have to start getting used to it for the World Cup, and that's supposed to be like the big like unveiling. Like we saw it with the Addy Pro back in 2010. We saw it with the Jobalani when it was in South Africa, and like usually you have a lot of players talking about the ball and how it feels to play with it and shoot with it. And I have to think that with all these own goals that are coming up, there are a lot of players that are just not comfortable with this ball.
So
Just
it's an
something to think
interesting
about.
point.
Interesting.
Can you hear me again?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're good.
All right, good. All right, yeah. It's an interesting point, Kamala. I do like that. But just to put a bow on it, the last thing here I would talk about would be Turkey. Now you said I kind of said they're the new Georgia, right? Georgia is so incredible they got the knockouts, and Turkey's incredible they get to the final 8, the quarters, because there weren't very many expectations for Turkey coming into this. So good on them. There's the Turkish soccer league has some pretty good talent that doesn't get highlighted because you have all these other leagues like Galatasaray, I believe, is the best Turkish club side in that country.
That's the
and
the premier team.
Yeah. So like I said, it's pretty amazing for them to get there. I think that's pretty cool. And if any last words on the Euros before we move on to the Copas?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say. Usually, like if a major player doesn't go to the MLS at the end of their career, you usually see them end up at Galatasaray because they're kind of like the Real Madrid of Turkey. Like they have that bread to spend and can offer these big contracts for big names in the twilight of their career. Like I think Wesley Schneider played there for a little bit at the end of his career. But yeah, so it's interesting to see. It's like watching PSG. Like they're a French team that just dominates the French league year after year.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't talk about the save by Turkey to end the game today. That Austria-Turkey game was insane.
Yeah, I was going to say, educate us, enlighten us.
All right, sure. The part this is I caught the end of the game and it was wild, but the 94th minute or 95th minute, like literally right at the end of the game, the last offensive attack for Austria, the guy puts one into the box, like right near the goalie. Guy heads it down, so it's going towards the right side. Guy heads it down, back to the left. Goalie has to stop, redirect, barely get his hand on it, tip it out of bounds, basically to end the game. And the analysts were talking. They were like, "That was one of the most incredible saves we've ever seen." In that moment, awesome. How difficult that was, the redirection, taking like it was also raining too, like the wet ball off the turf, getting the right read, taking it out, like that was pretty impressive, and I'm surprised you guys missed that one.
I missed that one. I missed it by a little bit. Good breakdown though. Yeah.
I watched hours and hours of soccer. I almost saw a goal.
Thank you.
Before we move on, Nick, and I kind of touched on it a little bit. Stevie and I were talking before, and I don't know if you were in here and able to hear us while you were figuring your stuff out. But the officiating has been absolute dog water. And I'm not saying that as somebody who's like trying to cope with like, my team lost and it's all the ref's fault. Like, because I mean, outside of Holland, I don't really have a dog in the race. But like, take the France-Belgium game for example. Even the announcers couldn't stop talking about just awful missed calls, cards for no reasons, and that's been kind of the theme of the tournament. And in the past, we've talked about refs and umpires like, you shouldn't notice that they're there, right? They should make the calls that everyone knows that they should make, and then outside of that, just be there to officiate the game. But it seemed like it was missed call, makeup call, inappropriate yellow card, and I don't understand like how FIFA can justify some of these officiating crews. And I'm sure we're going to talk about it again with the Copa, Copa
Copas, yeah.
America, but it's been so bad.
So Conlo, you see this a lot with international tournaments because, if I'm watching a Premier League match, the Premier League goes out of their way to get the finest, highest quality officials, right? And they're all on one standard, right? It's this is the set level. This is a foul. This is not a foul. They all know that. But when you have these international tournaments, you have officials that they take from all these different countries. So you might wind up with some Portuguese official who only officiates garbage Portuguese league matches, now officiating a Germany-Spain match, who the moment's too big for him. And because he's never been in that situation.
And that was my theory, was that I'd have to imagine that and I said this to Stevie before we started recording, I'm sure somewhere on their form where they pick out and assign referee crews to these games, there has to be a box that gets checked that says they can effectively communicate with both sides, right? Because if I'm officiating the France-Belgium game, you need an official that can communicate effectively both in, I think they speak German, in some dialect of German in Belgium, and then French.
Well, Flemish. They speak a lot of French in Belgium as well. There's a lot of there's like tons of different languages in Belgium. It's probably English is what they're talking to them in, to be honest, in a Belgium France game. But yes, and so you're right. What happens is, okay, we have this match. We take officials from all the countries in UEFA. So you could again wind up with some dude who's from Bulgaria out there, who's never officiated higher than the Bulgarian Premier League, but he can communicate with these two sides. So you now have this guy out there.
Nick,
who,
I gotta cut you off, buddy.
Is...
This sounds so bad. You're getting all
no.
robotic on us again. It doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
But trying to take the AirPods off,
and I think that I don't know if that's it, but I get your point, and I think we're kind of on the same page. But I think that we'd probably be doing the Euros a disservice if we didn't at least talk about the quality of officiating at least a little bit, because when it gets to the level that even the announcers are flabbergasted at some of the calls, it needs to be addressed.
Right. Yep, I agree.
I agree with you.
I also love, on a positive note about the Euros. On a positive note about the Euros, what I love and what I think makes people love soccer and watching it around the world. One, like, the rest of the world doesn't have the amount of sports that that the US does, and we kind of get bogged down with different sports and different fan bases.
Mm-hmm.
They live and die for soccer, and watching that all of these showings after every goal, like these watch parties showing them, or like showing the pubs in England and everyone going absolutely nuts. I mean, how cool is that? Like how much fun would it be to be in a pub in England when that goal happened?
So
like that to me is awesome. There's nothing that comes close in America except for maybe some colleges.
Yeah. That's definitely something that's always been on my bucket list, is to go see Liverpool play at Anfield and just like get involved in the cop, like behind the goal, and like feel like it's funny to think that like, like Arrowhead Stadium registered on the Richter scale, like, oh, they created a small earthquake, and I'm like, I always think like that there's no way that's comparable to what they're doing in England.
No.
It can't be.
No.
Not even
it can't
same,
be.
not,
and just watching the watch parties, how massive they are.
Yes.
How nuts they get.
It's like what we saw in the Stanley Cup. Just every
right,
week.
And that's because Canada, and that's because Edmonton, like that's it. That's their sport. That's the only thing they've got, right? Is hockey. So when you like go to England and it's like this is the biggest event in this country for like in 2 years, right? That's that's what makes it so special. I also wouldn't trade any of the amount of sports that we have in the U.S. for anything, though.
Oh, 100%.
Can you?
Go ahead, Nick.
Can you hear me?
A little bit.
Yes,
All right.
a little
Yeah.
bit.
No,
So, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's long been something I think people have floated about in the U.S. of like, these other countries, like you said, they stop everything for a soccer match, and when it's on
Yeah.
the global scale, and we don't. And they've talked about that type of culture and mindset is a lot of times the difference between success and failure, right? And we kind of saw that. This is a nice segue into the Copa Americas, right? We saw it with our U.S. men's national team in the Copa Americas, where we have a crap ton of talent on that roster. I mean, I would argue, more talent on the U.S. men's national team roster than there ever has been in the history of the U.S. men's national team. Because of, think about the high quality club side these guys are playing for and the difference makers that we have out there in some of these guys. And, we kind of saw the difference of, for a France, they stop everything they're doing for their match. Like, it means that much more. Whereas for us, it's like an afterthought. I bet there's so many people who didn't even know that the United States played a match last night at 9 o'clock against Uruguay, right? And I think on some level that's a trickle down effect of, success and failure in this type of sport.
Yeah,
So
I mean, because
hard
there's so many other sports that you're looking at too. Like the best athletes in our country are not soccer's not the sport they're looking to play.
Well, not
but
just
we still
that.
have
It's
Like, if our soccer players are good, they don't typically stay locally, right? They go overseas and play there.
true. Yeah.
And soccer isn't groomed here like it is any of the other sports, right? Like look at any other like major country that participates in soccer. Look at your Portugals, your Englands. They have academies where instead of going to college or maybe even some high schools, they go to pretty much like a prep school, like a Liverpool academy, and their job is school soccer, and it's all a grooming system to get them prepared to play in the U18, in the U20,
Yeah.
and then
We
in the
have that for
juniors, right? Yeah, we
basketball
have
and
that.
football,
We have that
like
for basketball,
IMG
football,
Academy and
baseball. Yeah,
Oak Hill Academy, and yeah.
it's
correct,
it's
correct,
just
yeah.
it's just bottom of the barrel for major sports, to the point where like some Americans, I'm sure if
Right.
you asked them, they wouldn't consider it a major sport.
I I wouldn't say it's
I
bottom barrel. I think it's more about, because again, our country is a lot bigger than a lot of these other countries, so we have many more resources to pull from in terms of like athletic specimens, if you want to call them that. Um,
Sure.
like you said, what you said, Kamala, the way we develop that particular type of athlete with the skills and mindset needed to compete and succeed at the highest level is different, and is not keeping up. So again, just again, we're going to segue into the Copa Americas. Um, they've moved on. They haven't finalized who's in the quarterfinals. The last two teams are playing tonight. I think they just kicked off as we are recording right now.
Yes.
But teams that have advanced out of the group stage to the quarterfinals, you have Argentina and Canada, or Canada. Happy Canada Day. That was a couple days ago.
They're a
For you
dominant
guys.
force.
Yep. Venezuela and Ecuador advanced. Uruguay and Panama advanced. And tonight, just going to go out on limit, probably Colombia and Brazil will advance, but it's not 100% sure.
Colombia is playing
Because
Brazil.
exactly,
Are
because those two
they?
teams
Are
play each
they?
other.
Uh,
They're one.
oh, so you're saying that?
They're
Colombia
going
Okay,
to
so you're saying
advance. Yeah.
Costa Rica and Paraguay won't advance.
Yes.
Probably
I
not.
gotcha.
Probably not.
Gotcha.
It would take something wild, and the team that would get knocked out would be Brazil, which would be crazy. But you're probably going to see Colombia and Brazil advance. So what that means, and if you notice, I didn't say Mexico and I didn't say the United States, because the Mexico and the U.S. both got eliminated in the group stage. Both,
Which is
I would say,
embarrassing.
are disappointed. I mean, you're right. Embarrassing is probably one way to look at it, because when you looked at the draws of these, you would have said both those sides should be advancing to the next round. Like, there's no reason they shouldn't, because again, they have the talent, they have the quality, but it's kind of been a trend of late with those two sides of disappointing results in international play. So, Mexico, again, they were eliminated. The U.S. got eliminated last night. If you watched that match, it was disappointing. You touched on officiating, Kamlo, earlier. Boy, was the officiating in that rough, but it's hard to say that costs you the match. And in a lot of ways, officiating never costs you any match or game, because there's always so many other things that you can control that if you do execute them properly and effectively, the discrepancies in officiating don't, show their bones. But man, you're right. The officiating, the moment was way too big for that official. I don't know why CONMEBOL
I I
put that
honestly
guy out there.
thought in the last two matches that the U.S. men's team played that it was going to. I mean, if soccer was a bigger sport in America, it had the potential to incite riots. The game against Panama was violent and out of control, and you saw it from both sides. The referees were never in control of that game. And I thought the officiating last night it was clearly a rookie crew out there, like you said, Nick, the moment is just way too big for them. They were not built to ref that game at all. I thought that last night's match against Uruguay could have also got a little out of control and probably incite riots were we a bigger soccer like nation. But the officiating is just so bad. It's so bad.
No, I mean, it's tough to swallow. But again, if you did watch that game, it's not like the U.S. were the better side and deserved victory. They didn't.
No, they
Uruguay were the
didn't.
better. That Uruguay deserved victory. So again, it's hard to sit there and bemoan the officiating when you don't play well yourself and you don't control the things you can control as well as you should. There's just, man, just watching it, you almost wanted to root for Uruguay because the U.S. was so ineffective when they were on the ball, and Uruguay's transition offense was fantastic. Uruguay's transition defense, like when the U.S. got possession of the ball, was fantastic. And it almost looked like old U.S. sides that we used to see when there wasn't as much talent out there, you know, hoping to get lucky and score a goal. And it's like that shouldn't be the case with this U.S.
No.
side. There is so much talent out there. You should be on the front foot. You should be pushing things. And we didn't see that. They seemed so overmatched. And again,
The
it's not like
problem
they're a team that they were technically ranked above in the FIFA World Rankings. U.S. is 11, Uruguay is 14. Yeah, it's close
mhm.
together, but they looked overmatched, and that should not be the case.
No, it
We were
shouldn't
ranked.
because
We
we
were
do
ranked
have
11th in the world rankings.
Yes.
and which
Wow.
it makes a little bit of sense. And again, you would never know it just talking to your casual sports fan in America, but that there's a multitude of things that are so embarrassing with this. A, ranked 11th, don't qualify for the knockout stages. B, the Copa America, the CONCACAF, the Gold Cup, all of these tournaments are designed and laid out so that your biggest, like, three or four countries in the Americas can qualify, right? FIFA wants America, Mexico, Canada, Brazil, and Argentina in there. And you have these tournaments with such high stakes for qualifications because FIFA wants those nations in there. They want the ratings, they want the eyes, and they want that, like, regional success. And all of these things mulling together, we have like you said, Nick, we have a stud team. We have guys that are arguably better than any other squad that we've ever had. I don't remember the last time the U.S. was ever rated this high in soccer on the world scale. So all of these things culminating together to miss the knockout stages is so embarrassing. Greg Berhalter should be fired by the federation. It's inexcusable. It's inexcusable to have this kind of performance, and I I I couldn't be more mad. I knew it was going to happen. Someone asked me at work yesterday, like, what do you think the chances are that Uruguay rolls us? And I said, I think it's like 80-20 that we lose this game and we don't make knockout
I agree.
stages just because of how the tournament's been going and how our side's been looking. And I I saw a tweet from Seton O'Connor of the Dan Patrick Show, and he said that he said, I don't care if we have to offer the entire state of Connecticut as compensation bring Jurgen Klopp back as the USA manager. I could not have liked that tweet any harder than I did. I mashed that like button because I agree. Greg Berhalter, I mean, outside of his really nice Nikes, I don't think is that great of a manager. I think
He was also worried about the score of the other game too. I don't know if you saw that. Like Tanner Twellman tweeted it, and he was like, "Don't worry about what's going on in the other game. Worry about what's going on in your game."
100%. And
Yeah.
that's it's a huge issue. Like there's no reason. Like again, control what you can control. If the manager is worrying about the score of the other game, you bet your butt that everybody else on the bench and on the pitch is also worrying about the game. Because while you're taking time to look at the score and everyone can clearly see you go like this, like
Yeah.
it's inexcusable. It's inexcusable, and he should be embarrassed.
The dogs are angry about it.
Yeah, I know. Like I'm
Yeah.
fired up in here. Moving on.
No, I mean it could. I'm right up. This
I can't hear.
this
You're
group,
breaking up again, Nick. No one can hear the excellent point you're making.
Brony Parkers.
I heard Jabroni Parkers.
That's kind of what I heard. I heard Jabroni Parkers too.
Hear any more that I'm saying? Yes.
I heard yes. Yeah, I heard no.
That's all I'm saying is yes. No. Jabronis.
So anyways, yeah, so we're all eyes on the last two matches of Copa America, Brazil versus Colombia, Costa Rica versus Paraguay, to see which two teams will emerge and play Panama and Uruguay in the quarterfinals. Those games start Thursday, July 4th. Happy Independence Day.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
A little better.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, so what, again, just to put a bow on it, it's kind of annoying that the U.S. team has been dubbed our golden generation when they haven't accomplished a daggone thing, and they've just been disappointment after disappointment, which with all this talent. And you're right, Kama, something's got to change. Maybe it's Berhalter who bears the brunt of that. I mean, that is, what happens when you take on the responsibility of being a manager. But far too much talent out on that field to not advance at the group stage of any tournament at this point. And it doesn't matter. World Cup, Copas, Gold Cup, whatever it is, the U.S. should always be advancing out of the group stage because there is that much talent out. Yes. It is pretty inexcusable, very disappointing. But, the rest of the tournament should be entertaining. You still have some very quality stuff.
Tuned in.
Yeah. Anything else before?
Yeah, real quick. I was going to bring this up earlier when Stevie was talking about the atmosphere at a European soccer match. Our old newspaper teacher, Andy Hawk, Stevie, I don't know if you ever met him or had any interaction with him. He knew back in high school that I was a very big soccer fan. Well, one of his old buddies, a guy by the name of Chuck Culpepper, was an American sports writer and decided that he wanted to really educate himself and submerge himself in soccer culture, right? So he just up and moved to England and picked a team that he was going to follow and just be all in on. And so he followed Portsmouth, and he wrote a book called Bloody Confused. And it's all about him getting into just the culture of European soccer, particularly the Premier League. And he highlights the major differences between European sports and American sports. European sports media, they don't get access to the players or the coaches before or during games. You get an interview if the players or coaches volunteer one after a match. He talks about how even buying tickets is different, where you have to declare yourself as a home fan or an away fan. And it's really cool. The tagline on the book is "A clueless American sports writer seeks solace in English soccer," which I think is a pretty cool tagline. He gave me a copy of it. I might have one around here somewhere, but yeah, shout out Chuck Culpepper and Bloody Confused. anybody listening wants to learn more about like the culture that we're talking about, this is a great read to get yourself educated on the big differences between American sports and European sports.
It's got 4.2 stars on Amazon.
It's such a good
Nice.
book, bro.
Thank you for putting all of your stake in reviews. My stake is all in what it says, so that's the only review I need.
It's all in the sizzle,
I love
baby.
it.
My steak's in the sizzle.
I love it. That take us our Mimosa Minute for this week, sponsored by the creators of the Modern Mimosa, Mayne Co. Mayne Co. Woman-owned, championing women's excellence in sports since 2020. Follow them on Instagram at Mayne_Co and visit them at mainsip.com to order your Modern Mimosas today. Love this segment. It is a lot of fun. I love picking out the things. So I got a couple things for us. I know Kamo said he's got some stuff. I'm going to start off. My first one here is Sydney McLaughlin-Lavroni. She set the world record in the 400-meter hurdles at the Olympic trials to qualify for Paris, where she's going to now try to defend her title because she won gold in the event last year. It was pretty epic to watch when she did. It was like she was coasting and everyone else was like, struggling. She was that much better, pure dominance. But before we move on to the next one, boy, do you know where her husband went to college?
It's either UVA, West Virginia, or Wisconsin.
Yeah, he was a receiver at the University of Virginia.
Heyo.
So had to get that one out there. Next one I got here, Brianna Stewart. She became the fastest WNBA player to 5,000 career points in the New York Liberty's 81-75 victory over the Atlanta Dream on Sunday. Thought that was cool. Someone who doesn't get talked about enough as an elite player, as good as she was in college coming out of UConn. My next one stays in WNBA. Angel Reese. She's the first player in WNBA history to register 10 straight double-doubles, breaking the record set by Candace Parker, who's another all-time legend. Unfortunately, during that game, Reese's Chicago Sky, they fell to the Minnesota Lynx as Minnesota's defense held Chicago to just 5 points in the fourth quarter, which is pretty remarkable. They were able to do that. And my last thing for our Mimosa Minute before I let you guys add anything you want, Bridget Williams, she won the pole vault at the U.S. Olympic trials to qualify for her first Olympics ever. Do you know where Bridget Williams also went to college?
UVA.
UVA. Bridget became the 9th Wahoo to make the U.S. Olympic team this year. And
maybe invest some of these Olympic resources into that football team.
Well, you also add that there were two other Paralympians that made the team as well. So that's 11 Wahoos in the Olympics, which that would be 11 more than the number of national championships that Virginia Tech has won. Just pointing that
out. Yeah,
that's pretty interesting.
Give them a little dig. Yeah, who's the other power school that doesn't have a national championship?
Kansas State.
Yes, that's correct.
You want anything else you want to add, boys, to Mimosa Minute?
Yeah, I got one. Are you guys familiar with the former female hockey player Jessica Campbell?
No.
Well, let me educate you. So Jessica Campbell, former Canadian women's national hockey team player, 2-time gold medalist, 3-time silver medalist, scored a game-winning goal in OT to secure a gold medal against the USA back in 2018, I believe it was. It had to have been earlier than that, whatever year it was. But she retired from women's ice hockey in 2017 and is the owner / co-founder of an organization called JC Power Skating. JC Power Skating is essentially one of those clinics it's kind of like what Doug does with basketball, right? Where you take high profile recruits for hockey and she's coached people like Tyson Yost, Joel Edmondson, and other like female players, but those are probably the two big names that you guys would know. She was the first back in when the Seattle Kraken first became a team. I think it was 2022. She was the first first woman to be employed full time as a behind the bench assistant coach for the Coachella Valley Firebirds, which is the Kraken's AHL team. She coached alongside Dan Bylsma, who was the head coach for the Firebirds. Now that Bylsma has been tapped and called up to coach the Kraken, Jessica Campbell has the potential to break through another barrier and be the first woman to be full-time employed head coach of a professional hockey team. So I think that's pretty cool. It's something that I've been keeping really close tabs on, and it seems she's really the only name that's being mentioned. So it's kind of, we're just waiting for the announcement. But I think that's pretty cool. I love seeing things like that, especially because she is a former hockey player, a very accomplished with a great resume hockey player, and I think she's also one of the reasons why, if you guys happen to play any of the NHL games, like the EA Sports NHL games, there's more and more women being included as like players that you can get for your ultimate team, draft and different leagues and stuff like that. So I just thought that was pretty cool. I'm super stoked about it. She's got an insane resume, and I looked up some of her highlights. They're some pretty nasty highlights. So yeah, that's just something I wanted to talk about. So all in on Jessica Campbell. Keep an eye out for that announcement. Go Firebirds.
Nice.
I love it, Kamala. I love it.
I love you.
Again, I love it because I just learned something. I didn't know about it.
There you go.
So that's anything else, boy?
Mine's for molding.
Math is a really cool thing.
So get off your act and do some math. That's all I got.
No. So that's going to do it for us for this week, sponsored by Look Up them, include new cocktails and possibly a beer. I've been told there may be beers coming out. Being a look, Mayne Co, woman-owned and proud, empowering female athletes since 20. Good stuff there. Move on to our next segment, which will be baseball. Bobo's in baseball. Doesn't love that. So our next baseball segment is sponsored by Bobo's Chicken in Virginia Beach. Grab you some chicken on your ball game or to the beach at their short location near Chicks Beach. Bobo's in baseball, they ain't nothing better. So I know, boy, you love baseball. That's like, I would argue, probably your favorite sport. At this point,
it's arguable.
Yep,
it's arguable. Yeah.
So I got some good sport. There are a lot of good. I'm sure there's some things that I miss. You guys may help me out, but the first thing I'm going to go with for the baseball one, I don't know if you saw this, but a Mariners prospect, Hogan Windish, he hit 4 home runs in one game and drove in all 9 of his team's runs in his victory. Thought that was wild. That is incredible. I mean, I think it's incredible to hit 2 home runs in a game. I cannot imagine 2 home runs in one game. The dude cracked 4, and what's amazing is at least 2 of them were to the opposite field, which is
that's impressive.
Impressive. I know minor league ballparks are dimension-wise shorter than some of your major league ballparks, but I don't give a shit. You're going to hit 4 bombs, and you're going to take most of them oppo. Unbelievable. Driving in all 9 of the runs, fantastic. So Hogan Windish, amazing. Mariners farmhand, again, to be on that. Next one, our boy, Shota Imanaga, after he downed some warts, went out, pitched 6 strong innings.
Is he back? Because he was struggling for a bit.
He was 6 innings, 3 runs, so not the best start in the world, but still a very, very solid outing. And then Ian Happ hit a game-winning 2-run homer in the top of the 10th as the Cubs beat the Giants 5-3. Ian Happ, very, very, very underrated player in my opinion.
Is he? In your opinion, I feel like I'm waiting for him to become a star.
But that's why he's underrated. Is people think of him as, oh, he's got to be hitting 320 with 35 bombs. But that's not who he is. He's an excellent defender. He's a solid switch hitter with power from both sides of the plate. He'll give you great at bats, gets on base. That's why I think he's underrated. In my
I think I disagree because I think he's been for the most part disappointing at the plate. This should be right now. He should be in his prime. Like this is your time to take that next leap. You're supposed to be that star for this team. You take that next leap, and I'm looking at last year 248, 21, and 84. It's a solid year. OPS under 800. It's a solid year. It's not a 3-hole or a
Hall of
4-hole
Very Good.
hitter. No,
that's
not even there. 220. This year has been 228 with 11 home runs and 44 runs
before.
batted in. I
That's why
need
20 ain't gonna cut it in this
is,
town, pal.
but I don't know how you could say underrated because
maybe
people are
underappreciated. Maybe underappreciated.
underappreciated would be the better term. Yeah,
Because again, the expectation and the thought, like you said, you're putting that pressure on him that he should be a 300 hitter, 35, 120, and that's not who he is. But to be a switch hitter with the defense he plays, the way he gets on base and he affects different parts of the game all the time, and his clutchness, him going 265, 23, and 95. That's a
that
really,
would be a great year. He has not reached that. He hasn't even come close to that.
but I still, again, even if he goes 250, 20, 20, and 80, I think that puts him, again, underappreciated because you look at that and you say, oh, well, that's not good enough. But how many guys go 250, 20, and 80? Not a lot of people do that.
I feel like I mean, they are moving him down in the lineup now, but he was for a longest time was the 3 or 4 hole hitter, like or 2, 2, 3, 4 hitter, and I needed more production from that hitter.
Well,
Like I know he's a great defender, I know that, but I need your OPS to be above 800. I know it's like maybe we're looking for like more out of these guys, but I don't know I feel like I need better production from a
well,
guy like him.
you're right. Considering where he bats in the lineup, you're right. He's not a 2, 3, 4 hitter, but he's a guy who's a solid starter on a contender, I believe. But also keep in mind, I believe the current MLB batting average is like 240 or below. So if you're batting 250, you're an above average major league hitter.
Right, he's batting like 220.
I know, he's below it. I know, but he gets hot and has strings together a couple weeks. You're way above that line right now, right? So again, I like Ian Happ. Maybe that's the better thing is I like him. He's a guy who I want on my team. Moving on, next one, going with the Giants in a positive way here. Brett Wisely hit a walk-off 2-run homer against the Dodgers to win 5-3. It was Brett Wisely's first career walk-off home run or walk-off at all. It was pretty awesome. I love a good walk-off homer. I actually got a string of walk-offs here because I love those. Adam Duvall hit a walk-off single in the 10th as the Braves beat the Pirates 2-1. Also in that game, our boy Paul Skeens, another fantastic outing. He has been tremendous since being called up. Better than advertised, I would even say, and that's hard to say with the
Yeah,
expectation. But he
I
went
agree.
struck out 9, gave up 1 run. He's been fantastic.
He's must watch. Every single time he takes the bump, he's must watch TV. That is every 5 days or so when Skeens gets on the mound, find a way to watch his game. Uh,
Yes.
I think to me he feels like Nolan Ryan. I know it's like insane to say because of the numbers Nolan Ryan put up, but man, Paul Skeens, like the size of him, how he throws, everything, just dominant stuff, intimidation factor, everything.
I will say just to put some Nolan Ryan perspective on things. Nolan Ryan, um, I believe he has the all-time strikeout record, but I believe if a pitcher were to strike out 250 batters for 22 straight, they still would not reach Nolan Ryan's strikeout. That's how far above everyone
Yeah,
else out. But you're right,
yeah. I
Paul.
mean, he's got mythological stats. It's like it's like Tony Gwynn or Barry Bonds stats or like things that make absolutely no sense. You're like, how does someone even accumulate those numbers?
Yep, I agree. My next one I had on there was with the Rockies. Jake Cave from
UVA.
no, he is from Hampton. Went to Kickingham High School in Hampton.
How am I supposed to know that?
Our friend of ours played baseball with Jake Cave, so that's wanted to give that shout out. But yes, Jake Cave hit a walk-off single in 10th inning for the Rockies as they won 8-7 over the Brewers. It was the second straight extra innings win for Colorado, and it was Cave's first walk-off hit. Next one I got here, JD Martinez. He hit a go-ahead 3-run home run in the 10th as the Mets went on to beat the Nationals 9-7. The Mets are, as of that game, 19-8 since May 29th. They've been playing great baseball. Since Grimace, I believe, boy, you said, since Grimace threw out the first pitch.
Yeah, did you see Grimace there at the Nats ballpark when JD Martinez hit that home run? He was going nuts. Oh my god, I love Grimace over there. Grimace was going nuts, and then
Dude, the
I think
Grimace
there was a
tour is
rain delay.
crazy.
There was like a rain delay last week in I almost said Shea Stadium in City Field, and Grimace was just pounding beers. Whoever was in that suit was just pounding beers through the Grimace suit. People were loving it. Good for the Mets.
The Grimace
Yes,
tour
yes.
is so crazy. It blows my mind. He gets one birthday shake at McDonald's and now he's just a baseball icon.
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not
Yeah,
complaining.
I love it. Yeah. My next one there, Aaron Judge, the judge in session. He set a New York Yankees franchise record for the most through June with 31, which is nuts because we
home runs.
31 home runs a month. Again, it's crazy, but
I think what's crazier is his RBI numbers. He's on pace for 164 or something RBI.
nuts.
Is he
but
really?
Broke Babe Ruth, which
Nick,
is
you're breaking
Nick,
up a little bit here.
Nick, this is bad.
Yeah, breaking up.
Sorry, that was probably my fault. It's better now.
Anyway, Judge is on pace for like 62 home runs and 160 something RBI.
Yeah,
and while he's still batting 315, he has a legitimate chance at the Triple Crown if Stephen Kwan comes back to earth. Because Stephen Kwan right now I don't think he has the at-bats to qualify, but he will. And I think he's batting like 360 or 365. Judge is batting 321. He's clearly ahead in every single category. I mean, even if I go American League average, I mean, he's the next closest to him is Luis Rengifo, and I doubt he's going to stay at 317. I just do. He's not
pre All-Star break, it wouldn't surprise me to see some people start, like you said, coming back down to earth. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, and what's amazing is that it's hard to see Judge doing that because he's been so hot for so long. Like he started out so bad, and then this is him getting his stuff back, and now it's like I can't imagine
it's almost getting hard to it's getting to a point where like you can't just call him, like you can't just say he's getting hot because like the oven's
been hot for 2 months.
Yeah, the oven's preheated and dinner's cooking right now. You know what I mean? Like this dude is like this is clearly just kind of his standard and like his
because I'm like usually
right
like Shohei goes in spurts.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see Shohei's on an absolute tear right now, and his numbers are gaudy as well. But he's still 21 RBI behind Aaron Judge.
Yeah,
like that's bonkers. These RBI numbers. I know Jose Ramirez, who doesn't get talked about enough. He's got 76 runs batted in. I mean, that's he might. I feel bad for Jose Ramirez because you're looking at the numbers. It's like this is his year to win an MVP.
He's having
He's
a
not going
great
to.
season, but it's wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah.
Can you hear
You
me?
got to feel bad for
Again?
anybody that's having a career year. You know what I mean? Just because some people shine brighter.
Yeah, I mean, no, Aaron Judge right now has put up better numbers than Bryce Harper did in his 2021 MVP year. I believe was that the last time Bryce won, or
His
23 or 22
his
year.
numbers are
I forget.
already better, and we're pre All-Star break.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just not.
I remember when Bryce. I also didn't like when Bryce won that. Like why they gave it to him because I looked at his numbers. I said that's a good year, not an MVP year.
Who
Right
would you
now,
have given
Aaron
it
Judge's
to?
numbers. I
Well,
need to go back and
Yeah.
see the numbers.
well,
but,
that's this. Can you hear me?
it wasn't gonna be Bryce, but
No.
I
Okay.
think it was kind of more of a face of baseball type of thing. But
Yeah.
Judge's numbers right now are equivalent to slightly better than what Bryce Harper did when he won the MVP.
Are you talking 2021 or 2015?
21. His 2015 year is really good. Yeah, his 21 year.
Let's see.
Like
I'm
it was
gonna pull up
nothing.
the
It was
stat
nothing
leaders for that year.
crazy. Yeah, let's do it. I need to go to that year too.
Hold on. This is a good time to test if this works. Hold on. Let's see. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna go here. Oh, whoops! I gotta finish it. All right, so let's take a look at this. Can you see this?
Beautiful.
Okay.
I can. I wish we could make it bigger, but
yeah, hold on. That's what she said. Is that better?
yes. Yeah, I mean, all right, so look at those numbers. So 309, 35, and 84 with a 1.044 OPS. His OPS is the best in the league.
Yeah, well, this is how they're sorting it too. I mean, but if you want to go off of like a particular stat, like if
no, but look at go sorted by NL. I think the issue was the NL, like see that MLB thing right there.
Where?
No, regular right next to regular season it says MLB. Change that to NL. Now this will give you who else could have won the MVP. This is the issue. Is
Soto,
that
Tatis, Castellanos.
Castellanos, yeah.
Yeah.
Tatis, maybe more stolen bases, but I think that's the issue. Is that it was almost like who else are you gonna give it to? Trey Turner. God, that's a year. That's a nice year for Trey.
That's a
30,
is that his
30
best
stolen
year?
bases. Yeah. I would. You could have given that to Trey or Austin Riley too. Austin Riley had a great year that year.
Check out Adam Frazier down here too, mashing for 5 triples on the year. Brian Reynolds hitting for 8. You got to think that's probably has something to do with like your home stadium too, right?
Yeah. Speed, stadium,
if I may,
ballpark configurations. But I would say Austin Riley, and Tatis had an argument for that year. But basically, look at those numbers and then look at Judge's.
Yeah, I mean,
like look at. I mean,
if we were to
35
throw
and 84,
if we were to throw Judge in here and ignore the games played, it would look like Judge played this whole season with everybody else right now.
Correct, and I think he would have. I think based on those numbers that are there, I think Judge probably would have won that MVP because of
100%.
how high his OPS is.
Yeah. Oh,
and how good
I'm
his
on
team
board
is.
with
that. That's wild to me. That should put into perspective what he's doing this year.
I saw someone, they had kind of like I don't want to say it was a hot take, but it was like an interesting opinion where they were saying that like Judge's success is because he finally has like some fiery, hyped up personalities around him. You know, you have guys like Soto and Verdugo who get so jacked up and excited and loud when like things are going well that like that sort of energy is just going to be contagious in the clubhouse. And
yeah, I mean the Verdugo signing
that to like
definitely can't be overlooked.
They were comparing that to like the last couple of seasons where Judge didn't have those guys, and like where like the energy just kind of felt flat if
I
Boone
mean, he
wasn't
still
getting
hit
ejected.
2 years ago. He still hit
Yeah.
62
No,
home
and
runs.
he wasn't saying like by any means that it was. I think it was John Boy who said it actually, and he wasn't saying by any means that like, oh, Judge is only successful now, right? He wasn't like
Right.
dumping on his other seasons. He's just saying that like it could be an X factor to consider when looking at this as like a more successful season, right? Just because you have that energy. I mean, look at
Yeah, I mean,
and
the
I'm going to
team's a lot
use
better.
yeah, travel due south from New York and go down to Baltimore. Like, look at the energy they started bringing out when they started doing like the chain a couple seasons ago, which led into the Dong Bong or the Homer Hose, and now you have the hydration station. Like it's that young energy that I think kind of helps bring teams together. A good comparison for that also is when Steve Nash was playing for the Lakers, one of the reporters asked him like, "How come you're always like giving your teammates a dap? How come you're always like slapping them on the butt, touching their shoulder, slapping high five?" And he goes, "Because it helps build trust and it helps build camaraderie, right? So, if you're having a good season, but like the vibes just feel flat, there isn't really anything to kind of push you that extra distance, right?
Yeah,
Just something to think about.
Yeah.
I
Something to
agree.
Am,
think about.
Yeah,
am I hear me?
something to think about. Yeah, they Judge is
Ele-
averaging like somewhere between like 36 and 40 home runs a year in his career. He's already got 289 home runs through basically 7 seasons. It is
It's
wild looking
crazy.
at his stat lines. Oh my gosh, 62. Like on it just kind of feels like the clean version of what Bonds or Sosa, like
Wire.
McGuire, what those guys were doing, those gaudy home run numbers.
Yeah.
Like
So
Yeah.
even in this era of home run or strikeout, and we're seeing guys like take their A cut at every single thing and try to just go deep.
Do you think that's ever
Judges
a
like
conversation that could be had? Kind of like how we reflect on the steroid era and put that asterisks on it, and like the people that played in it. You talk about your Mark McGuire's, your Sammy Sosa's, but do you think that in generations to come, when they look back on Aaron Judge's season, do you think that they would ever put an asterisk next to his seasons because the balls are so juiced up now and there's
balls aren't
clearly
juiced
just like
anymore.
you
juice.
don't
Yeah.
That,
but you don't think that
Uh,
there's like a push for more offense in baseball?
there's
Like,
always
do
a
you think
push
like
for
that
more offense, but it's not. They took those balls away because you remember like it was like a couple years ago where
when the
you had some
MLB
really
bought
random guys.
Rollins?
Yeah, and it was like some random guys going, Oppo Taco for off a slider away that had no business getting out, and it did. They changed that.
Mm-hmm.
They fixed the balls. No, what Judge is doing is insane. There's no
Hold on.
asterisk
So
or anything to
let me
go.
ask you
Like I
this.
wouldn't. Yeah.
Let me rephrase the question. Could there be an argument? Do you think if you had to make an argument for an asterisk next to his season, could you make one?
why?
No.
Why? Why are you
No,
making an
you
argument?
don't think
No.
that there's any sort of like generational or era like descriptor for it.
No, because he's the
So you
only
just
one
think
that's
this
able
is
to
just
do this.
so yeah, okay, that's a good point. Yeah, so you're just saying this is just pure baseball.
Yeah, I would love to see it. Like again, I would love to see if what would happen if Trout stayed healthy because he's been putting up some. He's been basically just going home run or nothing in the last like 3 or 4 years. He
That's a
keeps
good
getting hurt.
point.
Um, but he put up 40 home runs in like 119 games last year. I would love to see what he could do in a full season if he could get to 60. But Judge has already gotten to 62 and he's on pace for it again. There's no one else that's coming close to what he's been doing. I mean, Shohei can get to. There's been a couple guys get to 50, but man, Judge already has a 50 plus home run year, a 60 plus home run year, and he's on pace for another 60 plus home run year.
I was listening to the pod from last week, which I was conspicuously absent for because of power outages. And you guys were talking about Shohei and how you're not putting him in that conversation with Josh Hamilton because you haven't seen him in person yet.
Yeah.
Have you looked at his schedule to see when he's coming to DC or Camden Yards to see if you can go catch him?
No, have you?
Tessa and I saw
I
him.
have not.
Tessa and I saw
You
him
did?
last year. Yeah, we saw him. We went there for free T-shirt day. He was in the lineup. Or no, it was a
Let's look at the
Hawaiian shirt
Dodgers
day.
schedule.
It was Hawaiian shirt day. He was playing for the Angels. We saw him, and I think Trout was in. Yeah, Trout was in center field too. They were hitting back to back. I think.
That's
I
sick.
think Shohei went 1 for 4 with a single, so it wasn't really anything to write home about. But I mean, it was cool to see, and that was outside of being there for the series when Cal hit the Iron Man streak. That was the fullest I'd ever seen Camden Yards.
Oh,
Or
I'm
maybe it wasn't
sure.
last year. It might have been 2 years ago. I don't remember. It's all kind of a blur. But
Let's see.
yeah, the yard was bumping, and we had
The
pretty good seats. We were
Orioles.
out on Utah Street.
Orioles play them, but it's in LA.
We might have already missed them.
They play the Braves in September. I will be incapacitated at that point. won't be able to get to that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's
Oh
nothing
yeah, I
else.
guess your window is very small.
Correct. Well, so then the only other game would be next week. They play the Phillies, but I will actually be. Maybe I'll go to Truist around that time and see what happens. See if I can
That could be
catch a game
fun.
down there.
Do you think that Shohei's having a pretty decent year? Do you think that
he's having a great
he would
year?
ever? Do you think he would ever consider just throwing himself at DHing and not pitching anymore?
It's no, because I think he
I know
loves.
this
I think he.
that's a question that requires a lot of speculation, but I mean, like,
Correct.
if
I
you
don't
had
know
to
what.
pick,
If I'm the Dodgers, I almost want him to just hit, just to because I don't know what's going to happen with that arm. But you're
yeah,
paying him $700 million. I can't justify paying $700 million for a guy that just hits.
yeah,
And I think he really loves pitching. Like I think
I
he
think he does
loves
too.
doing both. So if that's something the best player in the world and in a generation, maybe the most talented player ever wants to do, you're gonna let him do it.
Yeah, when we went to Camden Yards to see the Orioles play the Angels, I made sure that it was a game where I could see him hit because personally, I'd rather see him hit than pitch.
Yeah, I agree because I
Yeah,
can find better pitchers. He's a top 10 pitcher probably. He's nasty and
pre-injury.
really good. Yeah, pre-injury, but I can find better pitchers that I would rather go see. But yeah, you're
Mm-hmm.
hitting. If you can see him do both in a game, that'd be sick.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, if he's pitching, do you think if you caught a home run ball that Shohei Ohtani hit, would it be worth more than a home run ball that someone hit off of Shohei Ohtani?
Yes, it would be worth it. It's always the person who hit it.
Really?
Yeah, you're not. If I catch a home run ball, I'm not thinking about who was the pitcher. It's
No, that's
always the
fair.
person who hit it.
That's fair. That's fair.
Give a little write the name on it, put the date where
No, don't write on it.
at.
You take a piece of like masking tape, put it over, and then write on it. Do not
Then write
write
on it.
directly on that ball. If you really want to be classy, get a little glass like cube and put a plaque on it. You guys
That is classy.
You guys ruin your baseballs by writing on them.
There was no one. I don't know. Nick, I guess would have to answer that. I don't think there was anyone special enough that we got baseball from.
We got a Metsui one, didn't we? All right, so for real quick, for those of you that are still listening to this wonderful program, when the three of us were a lot more youthful, we went to Camden Yards to see the Orioles take on the Yankees, and it was a weekend game, so we got there for BP, and we're standing in the outfield, and we're just fielding home run balls. This was the first year that the Yankee Stadium had opened up. So the Yankees were playing their first season in their new stadium, and everywhere they went, they brought their own baseballs, and on them it had a special little insignia stamped on every ball that said the inaugural inaugural Yankee Stadium season. That stamp made the balls worth so much more. And so I caught one. You caught one, didn't you?
No, I caught one from an Oriole player. It was like Cesar's Terse or something. It was some
Yeah.
like backup shortstop that hit a ground rule
Nick
double.
got two. And then Nick got two. And we proceeded to watch the game. I think whoever was pitching for the Yankees, I want to say had a no-hitter through 7. And someone on the Yankees was a
It was
triple away.
Pettit, right? Was it Pettit?
Yes, it was. It was Pettit. You're right. And then someone on the Yankees was a triple away from hitting for the cycle. The Orioles were getting blown out, so we stayed because we wanted to see if we were going to see a no-hitter or a cycle. Turns out neither of those things happened, so we left a little early. Fast forward about 5 years. I'm like cleaning out a closet. I find the baseball, and I look it up. That baseball was worth like $85. People were buying it for $85 on eBay, and I texted Nick. I was like, "Dude, you're not gonna believe this. Like, the baseball's worth $85." Nick sent me a picture back of his chicken scratch, thick black Sharpie handwriting, like Matsui on the baseball, and sent me a picture. It was like, "You mean this baseball?" And I went, "No, that baseball is not worth $85. That baseball's worth 85 cents."
Yeah, no one wants that one.
No, I don't think anybody wants that one. All right, so do you have anything else baseball related?
I got one more.
All right, let's go.
You talked about hitting for a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Wyatt Langford, who is a rookie for the Texas Rangers. I don't know if you heard of this guy, Combo. This is obviously his first year. He's 22 years old. Was a stud at Florida last year. Hit bombs left and right at Florida. Little more difficult to hit in the show, but it's pretty amazing seeing someone get to the show as quickly as he did from college.
Sure.
So you still know, for the most part, if you watch College World Series or anything, you still kind of know the name. He was struggling to start the year, as all rookies do. He's starting to heat up. He hit for the cycle against the O's the other night. Yeah,
Yeah, when they
and
got routed
it wasn't
11-2.
Yeah, but it wasn't super conventional because he is lightning fast. He hit a ground ball through. They were kind of playing him up the middle a little bit, just past the second baseman. Somehow gets a double. Like literally, it's in the middle of the field. Yeah, the dude can absolutely fly. His triple, I thought his triple was going to be an inside the park home run. I was like, so you better get to the ball because
Where did he hit it? Over to that like alcove and left field?
center. Yeah,
Okay.
yep. It hit off the wall.
Yeah.
And like after the guy tried to catch it going into the wall, and he kind of like then had to chase after it, and it turned into one of those like, oh, this could be an inside the park. But he's
got wheels like that.
someone to look for in the second half of the year, and someone in the future. I really like him. I think he's only going to get better. He's 22, electric. Like he's built like a linebacker. He kind of has that Trout size a little bit, 6 feet, 225. Like Trout's a little taller, but I mean that's built.
So he's hitting 260, 35 RBIs, 4 home runs, 7 stolen bases.
His power's gonna come. You're gonna watch this guy become a 5-tool player.
And that's through 60 games, so he is a starter for them.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And that's pretty amazing too, being a rookie starting for the defending world champs.
That's also a good point.
Yeah, so I think he's someone to look out for the second half of the year. I like watching him. I think he's a fun watch. Usually, a lot of times, like I kind of want to pick some guys that are doing like the little things or whatever. This dude's just fast and fun. He can hit the ball.
He didn't go to college.
He went to Florida.
Oh, okay. Under education, when you type in his name on Google, it just says Trenton High School.
He may not have graduated from Florida.
Was he like one of those where like he was there for like not that long?
He's 22, so he was probably there for till his junior year, which is what like. So baseball, I don't know if you know this, but baseball has a weird rule where like you can come out of high school if you can come out after your freshman year. So after your first year of college, you're allowed to go into the draft. If you do not go into the draft after your first year, you have to then stay until your junior year.
Interesting.
For some reason, they won't allow sophomores out. I don't really understand the rule or why that's the case, but they won't allow sophomores out, and then you're allowed to leave after your junior year. So that's what he did. If he's 22, so he left after his junior year. That's what
Oh,
like my
okay.
guy Weatherholt's going to do.
Okay.
A lot of guys do that.
Yeah, because a guy that sat next to me in a couple of my Crim J classes at Radford, he played baseball at Radford, and freshman year he like had to let all the teachers know, like, yeah, there's a good chance I might get drafted, so you're gonna
Yeah.
get out of me what you're gonna get out of me. But he ended up getting drafted. Yeah, heck, I guess it would have been our junior year, yeah, because it was 2012 that he got drafted, or maybe late sophomore year, maybe. But okay, so that's interesting. I didn't know that. I do remember there was like a big stink, like the commissioner and like the MLB was making a big stink about players trying to get drafted by declaring themselves in the international market and not
Yeah.
in the domestic market. I remember there was a big stink about that at the beginning of baseball season. Um, and
Yeah,
I
because I
ended up
don't I
having to
don't
like
really
kind of learn a little bit more about that.
yeah, because
I think
I
it
don't really
allows for like more
understand it.
negotiation.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense to me that a
No, just
sophomore's
go
not
and
allowed, a freshman's allowed to come out, but a sophomore's not, and it has nothing to do with like, oh, his body isn't ready, because you're allowed in 18-year-olds and freshmen to come
yeah,
out, but like NFL makes sense, right? You can't let
three
that
and
guy.
you got to
You
have
gotta play.
three in.
Yeah, you gotta play 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Just physically, otherwise you could get seriously injured. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I like Wyatt Langford. I think it's fun. That's all I've got
Okay.
for baseball. If you want to segue that one.
Yeah. Well, Wyatt Langford, everybody, mark your lists, write it down. We'll keep an eye on him. I'm gonna want to check in on this guy. I always like watching out for new talent, and a young gun like that could be a story after my own heart. All right, so that's gonna take us. I mean, let's go ahead. We're gonna go ahead. We're gonna get into our favorite segment. Um, like Nick says, every week we try to we pick a theme for the week and we pick our favorites. No real number is assigned to it. I think we're gearing more towards 5 every week. So our favorite segment this week is going to be our favorite ballparks. We thought that was apropos to pick something in line with our 4th of July, Independence Day coming up, baseball being America's pastime. We want to do something fun and talk about some of our favorite ballparks. Our favorite segment, as always, is brought to you guys by Legacy Title Loan and Escrow. If I'm saying that right, I'm sorry, I'm butchering it. Nick didn't.
One legacy title in escrow.
One Legacy Title in Escrow. I'm sorry, Bailey. One Legacy Title in Escrow. Hit them up for all of your title and escrow needs. So
visit. I got Nick. Nick sent me the thing. Visit
go
them
ahead.
at.
Let's get the read.
All right. Yeah. All right. This is what Nick said in quotes. That brings us to our favorite segment, brought to you by One Legacy Title and Escrow. Visit them at onelegacyflorida.com to see how they can help with your next closing. One Legacy Title and Escrow, because your legacy matters.
That's awesome. Good read. Good read. Good read. Again,
Thank
sorry,
you.
Bailey. I didn't have the copy in front of me. And Nick is in and out. Nick is on island time. If you couldn't tell by the quality of his audio or video, Nick's on island time. He's on vacation with his family. So we appreciate him making the effort, but it just got to be too much for him in his bandwidth at Beach House Wi-Fi. So we're going to finish this without him, but we will have his favorite ballparks up in our graphic, which will drop on Friday for Favorite Fridays. But Stevie, why don't you go ahead and kick us off? Why don't you tell me, let's talk about your favorite ballparks.
Yeah, I like this one because this is something that it's one of my goals to get to every ballpark. I don't know if that's something you've ever thought about, Kamala, but
You guys, I
I
feel
would
like
love
we're
to.
close because you guys were going to
We're
like
about
all-star
halfway.
games and stuff, weren't you?
We're
You
about
guys had
halfway. I
pictures
think
all
we've
over
been
your
to.
parents' house.
Yeah, I think we've been to 15. I believe. I believe we're halfway.
That's huge.
Um, yeah, it's pretty sweet. So I do have some experience going to these ballparks. I did leave a couple out that may surprise people. One of which being Wrigley. I wasn't massive fan of Wrigley.
Okay.
It's hard to get a good seat there. It's historic. They got the Ivy, cool, but it's hard to get a good seat to watch the game. Um, I'm gonna go honorable mention and then five others. Honorable
Okay.
mention, I'm going Truist Park in Atlanta. I have to go down there for work every now and then, and I love the ballpark and I love what they've done with the setup with it and everything. Brand new. It's a really cool ballpark. If you haven't been there, you can walk around, get yourself a drink, walk around the battery is what they call it. It's a great time. They got restaurants and bars everywhere around there.
Oh yeah.
Number five, San Francisco. It was called AT&T Park. I don't think it's called that anymore. But San Francisco is a really, really cool ballpark with McCovey Cove.
That's
There,
Oracle Park now.
Oracle. Yes, thank you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that is such a cool ballpark with the Cove. We were there when Bonds was trying to break the record. He was on like seven. I think he was on like 730 something home runs. So
Mm.
we were there, and that's when he didn't have smartphones. So there were flash bulbs going off nonstop. And
He has
it's,
a big camcorders with
yeah,
like the
it's,
VHS tape in them.
we got a good picture. My mom got a good picture of it. But
Oh, okay.
it was almost like you're not watching him, you're watching the flash bulbs everywhere. But that is a cool ballpark in San Fran. Number four, I went Yankee Stadium. I'm going to combine both the old and new. Been to both. The new one doesn't have the same feel as much as they want to do it, everything with it. It doesn't have the same feel. But I have seen a football game in there and a couple of baseball games. And I went to game five of the 2017 ALCS with my cousin. Shout out Johnny. We went, we just took the bus up, went to that game on a whim, and it was the loudest stadium I have ever been in. And I've been in some crazy college football atmospheres. I've never been to a stadium louder than Yankee Stadium. They were going nuts. It was quite a scene. Number
Nice.
three, over to Boston, Fenway.
Okay.
To me, I think it's the most architectural like pleasing ballpark. There's something about the Green Monster. There's something about the like history of that place and the old seats, pesky pole, everything
Mm-hmm.
that goes into Boston.
It's
And
intimate.
it's something that will, yeah, it is. It's the most intimate stadium, right? I think they have the least amount of seats.
Yeah.
Um, we were there when I think the first year they added the monster seats.
Oh,
And
okay.
we had Trot Nixon in right field. But I think it has probably the best ballpark food, I would argue,
Yeah,
out of any stadium.
because because of the age, they don't have a refrigeration system, so food is brought in
Correct.
fresh every single day,
Correct.
which
Yep.
is pretty sweet.
And number two, I'm going Camden Yards in Baltimore. It's the place where we're seeing the most baseball games by far.
Mm-hmm.
Um, love Utah Street. That stadium what became pretty much an instant classic. I think there's only one reason why it's not my number one, and it's because they stopped serving Natty Bows,
Okay.
and that was it. That was a bummer. I
Yeah,
remember
that's
going there
fair.
like it's like, oh, like I'm so excited to get myself a Natty Bow and watch some baseball, and nope, we got bought out by Anheuser Busch. Thanks.
Yeah. No, that's a bummer.
That was a bummer. Um, but that is the place where we've seen the most games. It's I love that ballpark.
Sweet.
Number one, I'm going over to Pittsburgh, PNC Park in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
I
Great
wish
park.
I wish I was able to get to more games. I went to a few when I was at school, West Virginia, just because it's an hour and a half away. I wish I was able to get to some more games, but there is not a bad seat in that ballpark. They did such a great job with that stadium. Looking over
Yes.
the skyline, looking over the bridges, all the yellow bridges, the Clemente Bridge. Um, I love PNC Park, and the team usually isn't very good, so you can get tickets for cheap.
Yeah,
So put that one out there. If
yeah.
you want to go see a ball game for cheap, you know what? Go try to see Paul Skeens or
There you
Jared
go. Yeah,
Jones. They've got some great
yeah.
pitching.
That's
Um, I'm a big fan of PNC's Park. I love everything they've done, and there's something that like Pittsburgh is such a great sports town as well, and they're the only sports city. They're the only city that has every single sports team has the same colors. And I wish that
oh, I never even thought
would
about
happen
that.
with other. Yeah, yep. Every single team is black and yellow.
That's pretty
Cue the
cool.
song, but
Yeah.
but it makes Pittsburgh unique, and the Yinzers love themselves some Stillers football, and then you head over to PNC Park, have yourself a beer and a hot dog, and watch maybe a pierogi, and watch some baseball.
that's
But yeah,
that's their new thing, right? Did I talk to you about that? About their new like hot dog that they have at their stadium, where it's like
does that have a
it's a foot
pierogi on
long.
it?
Yeah, it's a foot long hot dog with uh like barbecue short rib, like shredded like short ribs and pierogies on top. Like the thing looks
Oh
like a
my god,
monster. We got to get
we
up there
have
and
to
try
go.
one. Yeah,
Yeah,
content,
a pierogi
content.
content. Yeah.
It's a good
All right,
list. I
I'll
like
hang up
that
and
list.
listen.
Um,
Thank you.
yeah. So I have only ever been to one MLB ballpark, and that's the Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Not for lack of
That
effort.
you've
I tried.
never been to the Nats, really?
Never been to Nats Park. I've been down there in like Navy Yard area and been around it, but I've never actually been inside. Um, so there aren't a lot of. I think it's probably 50-50 on my list between like minor league team, like pro stadiums and other stadiums. All right, so I'm gonna kick it off. I kind of went with the way you went for honorable mention. I went with Oracle Park. That is a super fun looking stadium. I like having like the water right there in the outfield. It's also their 25th anniversary this year of
Nice.
the stadium opening, so that's kind of cool. I've always liked watching Giants games on TV just because it's fun, right?
It is
I
fun.
think
Yeah.
Nick said wasn't that the stadium that Jordan saw Mike Trout hit a bomb at?
No,
Was that
no.
Oracle Park?
I thought that was in Anaheim.
It might have been. You might be right. But yeah, so Oracle Park, honorable mention. Number 5, I went with the Field of Dreams. The
Oh,
way that
nice. Yep.
the way that Major League Baseball did that game last year, the Field of Dreams game with Kevin Costner, all that stuff, it was marketed perfectly. The stadium looked so cool. I really enjoyed that, and it kind of gives you that like Sandlot feel to it, right? If you build it,
Yeah.
they will come. So I thought that was pretty cool. So number 5, the Field of Dreams field. Number 4 has a very special place in my heart. I went with Terwilliger Brothers Field at Max Bishop Stadium. That is where the United States Naval Academy plays their baseball games.
Okay.
For those of you that don't know, my dad played baseball at the Naval Academy, so I've seen a lot of games there. My dad's in the Athletic Hall of Fame at the Naval Academy, so shout out Dad in the class of '81. First team to make it to the NCAA postseason in Naval Academy history, so that was pretty cool. So I have a lot of
That's
fond
awesome.
memories there. Yeah, Dad and his teammates getting honored, going, walking around the stadium, walking around the campus with Dad and his classmates and all of his friends. So I have a lot of fond memories there of watching games. Army Navy games there go crazy.
Hell yeah.
Number 3, another stadium that I really like watching on TV is the Rogers Center where the Blue
Hmm.
Jays play. I love the idea of the hotel in the background. Just because if I don't feel like being at the game, or if it's not really that interesting of a game, it's like you have your own special box, right? I don't have no idea what those hotel rooms go for, but I would love to watch a game from the comfort of my hotel room in the outfield of Rogers Center. That'd be so
Yeah,
sweet.
that would be sweet.
I just
That's a stadium I really want to see.
It's one of the few reasons I would ever travel to Toronto, right? Is to go see a game at Rogers Center. I think that's one of those. I think that's one of the things that I think is probably the most iconic in baseball. Right, Camden Yards has the warehouse. Pittsburgh has the bridges. Blue Jays have the hotel in the background. I think that's pretty cool. Number two, I went with the Fredericksburg Fred Nats Stadium. They used to be, I think they were the Potomac Nationals, and they played up in Prince William County, and they relocated a couple of years ago. Their stadium was built right up the road from my old apartment. So me and my fiance Tessa, we would literally get tickets for a couple bucks, or if someone was giving them away, we would get to walk to the games. The stadium is so pretty. The local high schools actually had a good hand in like preparing the field for it and testing it. And in their leading up to their inaugural season, high schools would play games there, and the staff, who were all brand new to working for a baseball team, had to work during the high school games to get themselves ready for the
cool.
Fred Nats season. So like these high school kids got to be up on the Jumbotron, the sound effects got to play. So every
That's
time
so
like
cool.
so if they hit a foul ball, you would hear, "That's a Spotsylvania Town Center foul ball." Like, it's pretty cool. They have a guy that has like really sweet charcoal grill out in the outfield, and so anywhere you are in the ballpark, you can smell these awesome burgers. Great stadium. The mascot is terrifying. So prepare yourself if you're ever in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and you want to go catch a ball game. Fred Nats, great stadium. And then number one, it shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. I'm wearing my Orioles polo. Number one has to be Orioles Park at Camden Yards. This gem opened up in '92 and flipped baseball stadium design and architecture on its head with its urban integration of downtown retro ballparks, building the warehouse in, and every time you go there, you just feel like you're in history, right? You walk along Utah Street and you see the bronze balls where home run balls have landed. You see marks from that season where players' balls have landed. You see Ken Griffey's plaque on the wall on the warehouse because he's the only one that's ever hit it. I mean, it's just fantastic. If you're lucky, you can catch Boog Powell sitting out there next to his truck at Boog Powell's Beef. I mean, it's just a ballpark that has such a special place in my heart. And for a while, I was trying to convince the missus to have our wedding at the warehouse. or at the very least, like some kind of rehearsal dinner, engagement party or something, have a party over at Dempsey's for just to celebrate. But that ballpark has such a special place in my heart, and I don't think anything could ever replace it. It's the only major league ballpark I've ever been to, and it's not for lack of effort. When I lived in Colorado, I tried to go to a couple of Rockies games, and ironically, in April and May, they got snowed out. Not rained out, snowed out. So I mean, I've tried. I can't say I've made an honest effort to go to Nationals Park in DC, but I mean, I just don't think anything can compare to Opaki. It's just the cream of the crop. It's the gold standard for me, and it'll always be number one. So that's my
awesome.
list. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's Nats ballpark. Like, I mean, obviously, I went there a lot with that World Series run, and I was like in that and we were in that area. And there were guys to go see, right? You would see Scherzer, Strasburg, Soto, Trey Turner. There were guys that were Harper, yeah. Well, Harper was off that team at that point, but there were guys on that team to really go see, and they had some star power, and it was fun. And then you would I don't know if you've been have you been tailgating around there or drinking around Nats Ballpark?
Yeah. No, we've
Did you
gone
go to the
like
bullpen.
we've gone to the beer gardens
The bullpen.
around. I can't remember the name of it, but like we've been
They
around
have
Navy.
like
We've
the
been around Navy Yard.
Okay. Well, like right outside the stadium, they have like trailers set up, um, and it creates like an open like courtyard, and it's called the bullpen. It's awesome. That's
okay.
probably the best part of Nat Stadium.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
now
I mean,
I don't have a desire to go watch them because I just don't want to There's no one I'm going to see. CJ Abrams, maybe.
See, like that would be, and again, no shock to anybody, but anytime we do a baseball related list, I always find a way to get something Orioles integrated into my list. Right, last week, although I wasn't here, I had Adam Jones as my number one center fielder. Um, but like I think for me that it would probably take like either like a super like electrifying ballpark, and they do exist, or like a really electric like crew team to like to get me to go see a game at their park, right? Like I probably wouldn't have an issue going to see Judge and Verdugo and Soto and the Yankees up in New York, right? Because that team's electric. But like imagine when you start getting down to like the bottom of your list and you only have a few more stadiums left to check off. Like could you imagine having to like work up and go see some of these just bottom of the
Yeah,
leaderboard teams?
there's the ones that I haven't gone to, like Tampa Bay. I don't want to go to their stadium. Their stadium
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
Uh, I definitely don't want to see. Let's see. Detroit Stadium looks kind of cool. Kansas City, I've heard, is pretty cool. It doesn't.
Yes.
Kansas City Stadium doesn't really.
So
Minnesota,
you
I want to
can
see Minnesota's. I think Minnesota's looks sweet.
the Royal Stadium is beautiful. I've never been there, but when I was moving to Colorado, you can see it from the interstate, and it's just dominating because you're kind of out. You're heading into nowhere, right? You're coming out of the
Right.
city and you're
And
driving
then you just
past
see
it,
the
and
crown.
yes, you just see the crown, and the outfield opens up to the interstate. So when you like are driving and you look over, you could just see everything. It's a really beautiful sight to see. So I'd say that's kind of cool. But again, like you're in like Nowhereville, USA. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Houston looks sweet. Texas looks cool. LA Angels, they got the Rocks. Oakland won't have a team. That looks like a terrible place. I definitely don't
It's almost
mind
like
not going
too
to
like
Oakland.
you would want to like plan a whole trip to a place like obviously like Texas, right? You could just plan a whole trip and then like, oh, you know what? Today's a good day for a ball game, right? You plan a trip to a
Yeah, the
spot and then
issue
you
is
go and see.
Houston and Dallas are nowhere near each other.
That's also true, right?
Yeah, that kind of stinks. Yeah, I think some of the issues with St. Louis, that's a stadium I have to get to. That looks
That'd
like
be
a
fun.
fun stadium. Yeah, I think that's a fun one to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rest, I'm not. Arizona and Colorado, LA Dodgers. People love LA Dodgers. Like they love that ballpark in LA.
To me, that would be a
And
miserable ballpark to go to just because I know how congested and
you're right.
awful it is to travel around LA. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason Kobe
Yeah,
Bryant had a helicopter to go to practices.
right. Yeah. Uh
Because
yeah,
it's just awful
Anaheim's at
traveling
least
there.
outside of it. Yeah,
You could go to
Anaheim's outside of
Disneyland.
it, but oh my gosh, yeah, LA Dodger Stadium, it's just people really really love that stadium and I don't necessarily understand it. I don't think it looks that nice of a stadium. And they're like, "Oh, well the bleachers are painted the sunset or whatever." It's like the yellow's the sun and the blue's the sky. I
So,
I don't know. Yeah, I exactly. That's my thought exactly. People love that stadium and I'm sure
that's the that's the
after
thing
the
about the Dodger Stadium is that we talk about stadiums that are built in like downtown settings, stadiums that have like cool city integration like the Pirates or San Francisco, but the Dodger Stadium, like if you were to like line up all the MLB stadiums, this stadium is boring. It's boring.
yes, I think that's a good term for it.
There's nothing that makes it like niche. There's nothing that makes it unique. Like anyone can have colored seats. Anybody can. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like if you were to look at it, you look at it and you go, okay, that's a perfect ballpark, right? But the perfect ballpark doesn't translate to like fun, memorable ballpark. You know what I mean? Like there isn't really
Yeah, I mean
anything like
there's no
unique
river,
about it.
I don't know how much of a mountain view you're getting there with the
and
I don't know.
without
Like
like,
Petco,
I'm not.
San Diego's got the warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Camden Yards has a warehouse, or San Diego's the metal building. I can't for some reason I can't think of it right now. Um,
Yeah. No, I know what you're talking
you know
about,
what I'm
but
talking about.
there's nothing that like I think it's just like this is gonna sound so mean, and I genuinely don't mean it to, but I think the baseball stadium is a perfect depiction of the clientele that it caters to. It's just bland, right? Like
Right.
it's a
Western
transplant.
Metal
It doesn't
Supply. God, I
belong.
couldn't get it. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're fine. But like, you know what I mean? Like it has no personality, much like a lot of like the desperate housewives that you meet from there.
The Valley
And
Girls.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like that's something that they should, and it's not like they're going to get to fix it anytime soon because they're going to be paying for Shohei for a while.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's an interesting ballpark the way it's built because it's like built on top of mounds or like they filled in land or
Mm-hmm.
whatever they did with it. So then the ballpark actually like sits under, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong with that, but it just it doesn't move the needle for me. If someone said you like, how
It's an
could you not
average.
see Dodger Stadium? You gotta see Dodger Stadium. Like, eh,
Why?
eh.
Right? That should be the first quote. Why? Like it. It's not going to be anybody's favorite, and it's not going to be anybody's most hated. Right? It's right in that meaty part of the curve where like if you weren't looking at your list of ballparks that you need to go to, we probably would have forgot about it.
Yeah, which is pretty sad because
It's forgettable.
it is forgettable. It's forgettable,
Oh,
and yet all these people
you
think it's
cut the
iconic.
LA in the grass. Wow. Like
Ooh, the bleachers are
yeah,
yellow.
yeah, wow, the sun that's just
Like,
beating down on us in our wildfire town.
oh yeah,
All right,
there's
this is getting mean.
yeah, we're gonna cause some
We
problems.
just spent 5 minutes crapping on LA.
I mean,
All right, well,
how much more time do you have? I could keep going.
yeah, right. Yeah. Well, yeah, tune into our B-sides podcast. But I think that's as comfortable a spot as any to wrap things up. Stevie,
Yeah.
you got any closing words before we shut her down?
Uh, I think this was a lot of fun. We're gonna keep it going.
Yeah.
Sorry that Nick kind of crapped out on vacation, but he's enjoys the vacation.
Yes, Nick works. Nick works very hard. He deserves a vacation, and we appreciate his time. Him trying to make the time to be here with us, and we hope you appreciate it as well. The listeners out there, the gazers that are watching. Um, but for me, Stephen Comlo, the boy, Stephen Vesci, and for our fearless leader, our coach, Nick Vesci, thank you. Don't forget to check out our socials, check out our website, wcmesports.com. Hit the follow button, the like button, the subscribe button, whatever you got to do. Just interact with us. You know, we'd love to hear from you. Our Spotify page, every episode will always have a question of the week, and sometimes it'll have a poll. So please, we'd love to hear from you on there as well. But like Nick always says, take care of each other, be decent to each other, and we'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.